Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the channel. Today, we're going to discuss the state of the Overwatch competitive meta because, of course, it is Season 21 and this means hero bans are now into competitive for the first time ever. And I'm joined by the illustrious...
One amongst many. Thank you,
Hello.
Blizzard. Hanzo's been deleted from the GameStar. He's gone forever.
Well, this is the thing. Who's gone then, Josh? Tell me, who's gone?
Okay, so let's do this properly. So, gone from the tanks. The tank roster no longer has Orisa.
Oh, Lord.
The DPS roster no longer has Hanzo, as I alluded to before, and Mei. Oh my god, she's gone. The Ice Queen. She's no longer there. She's melted. And the supports are now lacking Baptiste.
Oh,
Starry, what does it mean? What does it mean? What do I do?
God.
I'm a Baptiste main. What do I do? Ah!
Well, I mean, you go AFK now until the ban's removed. So, I mean, that's obviously a concern, right? So the first thing we've got to talk about here is if you are an Orisa one-trick tank, well, now you've got a very, very clear decision to make. You either don't play Overwatch or, as I implore you to do, you try and play a different tank. Now, you've got to remember, with the removal of Hanzo, with the removal of Mei, and with the removal of Baptiste, it will open up other tanks that suddenly become more viable, and that's what we're going to discuss in this video. But before we do that, Josh, we've got to talk about the map bans as well, because, they're not map bans, I suppose, but the map roster, whatever the hell you want to call it.
Yes.
Yeah, that we've got now for this new season, because that's going to, well, the heroes are map dependent, right?
Yeah, well, fairly map dependent, but some of these maps especially, like we got Gibraltar in the map pool, which is traditionally like a very sniper map, but Winston does very well there. And so there's like weird considerations of like, well, Mei's gone. Mei was keeping Winston in jail. Like she just like frozen him to a corner and Winston didn't get to play, because if you picked Winston, they picked Mei, you just kind of lost. So hey, well, now Winston on Gibraltar could be really good. Kings Road, tons and tons of things available. Hollywood, pretty good map for Winston. Pretty good map for Widowmaker, for example. There's so many things, there's so many little considerations to take into account.
Well,
but
I'll bring you back to Kings Row. I mean, what would Mei do on Kings Row normally? Well, she's not there now.
She just wore the choke, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, but she's not there.
She's gone. She's gone. She's gone. She's gone. Just
You're loving the fact that Hanzo's gone more than Mei. Like, I played both those heroes. I mean, I'm like, whatever. Like, I mean, I kind of got a sick pleasure out of playing them. Not playing against them, I'll have you know, but
yeah. And like just before we recorded this video, like we were banning about ideas of like, well, how do we like encapsulate this? What does it actually mean for the game? And to me, it means these things, right? Mei and Baptiste, they both kind of do the same thing. They both really slow down the game. So if you want to like run into an enemy team, well, the Mei walls you off and then she freezes you and then she ice blocks so she doesn't die and blocks damage, and then the Baptiste immortality fields and everything's slow. But with both of those heroes gone, suddenly burst damage comes back in a big way. You can just blow people up a lot better. You can do way more damage, way more DPS. So suddenly it feels like, hey, dive is kind of on the table. Is this the return of dive? Don't know. It's still very, very early, but it definitely feels like more of an option than it was before. And I think for the coming season, like if you are a Winston player, you like playing dive, hey, now might be the time to like, dust him off.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it, Josh? You got to try and get inside the mind of the devs, because these hero bans are issued by the development team, not by us. It's by them. So why would they remove these heroes? And like you said, it is pretty obvious. They're removing the heroes which were, well, difficult to remove in one kind of way, I suppose. You Baptiste, you no longer have this instant get out of jail card with the immortality field, which is a very strong ability. You no longer have Mei, who just doesn't die if anybody tries to dive her. And the removal of the Mei wall is becoming, well, Mei wall was becoming really, really strong at all levels of the game. So to see this removed from competitive, it's going to be interesting. I mean, I'm a little bit sad because I did like to bust out the Mei on second point Temple of Anubis pretty much all the time. That was my dirty trick because it was stupidly effective. Just remove 2 CP out of the map pool, Blizzard, please. Anyway, Hanzo gets removed as well. Like you said, Hanzo, I mean, what would Hanzo do? He'd pop storm arrows and just load the damage into Winston. Winston was unplayable. Mei shuts Winston down. Baptiste shuts Winston down. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and the question I have, like, I'm a support player, like I said at the start. I was playing Baptiste last season. Well, I can't play him for, we don't know, it might be a week, it might be 2 weeks. I'm not actually sure how long these bans
Yeah,
will
that's
last
the thing
for.
to point out. Yeah, we're not, and it can change as well.
Exactly. But for now, the instant reaction I had was, oh, I'm just going to play Moira then, right? And Moira's pretty good against dive still. She's very survivable, but at least it's not an immortality field. And the other thing that occurred to me was, like, one of the big things that we've seen in the pro meta, like at the very highest level, was that Ana was being played because Nano Rhine is so good for just like breaking in and just doing tons of damage and getting a ton of value, taking space and all that good stuff. But Mei kind of was the counter to Nano Rhine. That's gone.
Yeah.
That's no longer there. So Ana, like if the enemy team does want to play like Rhine Diva, for example, and your team's playing like Rhine Diva, if you play Ana, your Reinhardt could get a ton of value, an absolute boatload of value, and that could be really, really interesting to kind of play around with. So there's lots of like subtle things that could be happening here, lots of little intricate details and interactions that sort of define how the game plays, but the big thing is it should be faster, and you've got to think faster and less tanky.
The DPS bans kind of did make me laugh a bit because they've removed the, oh no, I've been killed by some random spam.
Yes.
Completely out of the game, which is pretty funny. All right, Josh, let's do this, right? Let's talk about tanks. Who is the winner? Or who are the winners, actually? And who are the losers when it comes to the tanks? And obviously, Orisa loses, right? But when you're looking at the bans from the supports and the DPS, which tanks suddenly become more viable?
All of them.
Well, I mean, Winston's the obvious one. Yeah.
Except for one tank. I think actually only one tank really gets shafted by this, who isn't Orisa. And it's Roadhog. It's poor Roadhog. And you might think, oh, but Roadhog, like, there's no Mei. That should be great. But Roadhog kind of only partnered with Orisa, really. And yeah, every game, like, has Ball and Roadhog in it just because the tanks want to play fun heroes. But man, he has no one to, like, partner up with now. You'd still be better off with Rhine Diva, with Rhine Zarya, with Winston Diva. Should be really strong. So Roadhog just kind of doesn't exist.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think, though, Diva's going to get really, really strong here because Mei was just criminal. I mean, well, it was criminal what she was doing to Diva. Just was absolutely shut her down. So Diva, yeah, is going to see, I think, her power level's going up quite a bit. But yeah, I'd agree that Hog does suffer just because you don't have the combo with Orisa, right? So he is going to suffer in that regard. All right, let's go on to the DPS, which I think is going to be a bit more, a bit more interesting because, of course, the DPS. I guess what DPS becomes more viable here, it depends on the tank that was removed, and it was Orisa, and it depends on the support that was removed, more so than maybe the two DPS that we see banned in Hanzo and Mei.
I'd say like Mei's the only exception there, because Mei shuts down like a ton of stuff. Like Reaper should be a lot better this patch, or this week, I guess, or this 2 weeks, because Mei can slow Reaper down. Like, the thing with Reaper is you get in, you shoot, and then you Wraith form away, and that's kind of your gameplay flow with Reaper, and Mei could deny that quite a lot. So Reaper should be a little bit more effective. Doomfist can be probably just as annoying as ever, because, you know, Mei was one of the ways you could kind of protect yourself against Doomfist. Tracer is just kind of a weird one that bubbled up in my mind, but one of the annoying parts about playing Tracer is Mei one-shots you. Hanzo one-shots you. If they land a headshot, if they're just spamming right clicks, or Hanzo spamming his left clicks, you will just explode without warning. So Tracer actually might be okay, and like Baptiste can like cancel out her ultimate. That's sort of another big problem. So it's an interesting one with the DPS. It feels like the catch-all DPS, you know, Hanzo and Mei were so universal, you could kind of play them in anything. Yeah. They're now gone.
You know, I think that's a good point, actually, because they are open. No, I would never consider myself like a really good Hanzo or a really good Mei, but you can break them out in a lot of situations and get an absolute ton of value back for just sort of playing the hero right. You're not really doing anything fancy. You know, like I go back to the example of Temple of Anubis' second point. I mean, what am I looking to do with Mei there? Well, I'm just walling them off as they push on the bridge. That's literally all I'm doing. And apart from that, I'm spamming right click, firing the old icicles off them. Sometimes I get a cheeky kill and I laugh to myself like, oh, that was a skill. It's the same thing with Hanzo, right? So I think it is interesting they've been removed. And it is clearly an attempt to speed up the game. And of course, this means that, as you did sort of speak about earlier on, Widowmaker becomes the only hero now that's just going to DPS anyway, instantly delete people. But of course, she does need to click on your head.
Yeah, she does. And also with Widow, like there is a PTR patch that should be coming out soon. It hasn't come out yet. So yeah. Like the Diva booster nerf is in that as well. The Soldier buff is in that as well, which I'm kind of excited about. I'm curious to see how that resolves. So Widowmaker could be even stronger if that Diva nerf does go through pretty quickly. The only thing with Widow is, well, dive is also more open. So there's like wheels within wheels, right? There's counters and then counters. Oh, I'm playing Widowmaker. Oh, but now they're playing Winston Diva, and they can get on top of me. And they wouldn't play that before normally because, well, we'd have like Widow and Mei somehow, and that would still work because if they try to dive in with the Winston, you just freeze them with the Mei and then they die. So it's an interesting thing of like interactions. I do think Widow's going to be strong, partially due to the map pool, a lot of good Widow maps, partially due to the balance changes. Yeah,
I'd agree with that. And I think McCree just remains strong as well. So it's like Soldier's the one in the back of my mind, which I want Soldier. Like the problem with Soldier is, as you've said, the buff is coming into the Helix rocket damage, and it's going to be hard to see how that. I don't know. Like Soldier's a difficult one when it comes to competitive, because if you queue into a team where you can just flank over and over again, you can get tons of like reward, and it becomes all a bit like. Ugh. But Soldier does win a little bit because there's less Orisa and all of that stuff. Anyway, let's move on here and let's talk about support, because Baptiste is actually, this is a big one to remove, because yeah, Immortality Field shuts down a ton of stuff. So with that going out of the game, again, this is going to speed up the rate at which people die, surely. Or are we going to see Moira very much just take his role?
Yeah, I think the instantaneous response in my head was just, oh, yeah, I'll just play Moira and get similar healing outputs. But Moira doesn't have, like, that instantaneous save.
Yeah.
It weirdly occurred into my brain of, like, Sigma should be stronger as well, surely. But then there's no Orisa who kind of pairs very well. But Immortality Field was one of the ways you stopped his ultimate just annihilating everybody. No more Immortality Field, suddenly Sigma ult is better. So there's like lots of weird little interactions. Like you could say Junkrat's stronger, because one of the ways you stop Riptire, you have to play around the Immortality Field. No more Immortality Field, suddenly Riptire's stronger. There's so many weird little things that are kind of going on here that I think, like I said, the best way to think of it is just like faster, more decisive engagements, more decisive play is definitely going to be the way forward. And that could hurt a hero like Ana, but then like Nano Blades should be stronger as well.
So what about Zen? Does that destroy Zen? Can we talk about Zen?
Yeah. Let's talk about my poor boy Zen. Because I look like him.
Yeah.
I resonate with him. And he's gone. No.
He's gone.
You should just put him in the hero bands as well, because it's just a mistake. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Oh, Lord.
Don't play him.
So, yeah, Zen loses.
He's so fun.
Zen always
so
loses.
Yeah, Zen
it's
loses.
A shame, though.
Because, yeah, it is a shame. But at the moment, there's no place for like a very fragile healer who has no self-peel, who has a slow ultimate, who has minimal healing. It's just there's little value. Mercy should be okay.
Yeah, Mercy, yeah.
Res should be still pretty good, because if people are playing fast, Res is really nice. She's evasive. She fits nicely into any team. Mercy's kind of unaffected by it. Moira's kind of unaffected by all this. Arnold is pretty affected by this, but it just depends on what the enemy's running. So it's just be situationally aware. If they're playing dive and aggro, play Moira. If they're not, play Ana. You should be pretty good, I think.
So I think that kind of wraps it up. I think, guys, in terms of like who is stronger and who is weaker right now, it does look like Blizzard are very intentionally trying to speed up the game. They're trying to remove things which slow the game down, and they're trying to make the game, I guess, less annoying. If you can say being froze by Mei is annoying, and having a wall thrown up in your face can be annoying. But it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. I think like the advice is just go and play the heroes you want to play and see what happens. But keep it in the back of your mind that yes, if you do see Winston as your tank, you should probably start thinking towards, okay, I should be picking heroes that would supplement dive here, especially if it's a map like Gibraltar, which, as you said, that it historically is the Winston map. So we're gonna have to wait and see how this plays out. But I'm interested. I want to go and play Soldier and see what happens.
I want to know what you think, by the way, in chat. If in chat, you can tell the stream.
Well, it's still chat.
You could. I want to know what you think if you are like a Hanzo main or a Mei main. Like, do you feel like, I'm not going to play? Like, I'm really, really curious. Or are you going to try something different? Let us know.
That's a good point, because the problem with me is I play all the heroes, so
me too.
I'm never really like, oh god, my main's gone, I can't play the game. I just think, whatever, I'll play something else. Weird. Yeah, all right, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, remember you can follow me on Twitter, which is @Stylosa. Do like the video as well, guys. That helps an absolute ton. Leave a comment below as well. Subscribe and click the bell. That'd be beautiful. And Josh, if you would like to plug yourself like a legend.
Yeah, you can find me twitch.tv/oneamongstmanytv. Stop by on like Saturday, for example, at 6 o'clock UK time. We do Coaching the Many. It's like Overrun Lives, but a lot longer and a lot more in depth.
Yeah, to put it lightly. Yeah.
We spent like an hour on each VOD, but it's a good time and it's really educational. It should be really useful. Otherwise, one_amongstmany on Twitter as well. Cheers, guys.
All right, guys, and we'll catch you on the next one. Toodaloo.
Bye.